All right, we got to talk about Mitch Marner for a second,
We
Lepore.
do.
He has been unbelievable, okay? So just to go over some numbers, I'm sure you're all aware of the point streak. He is riding a 17-game point streak. He is one off the franchise record held by Daryl Sittler and Eddie Olczyk. So hopefully Marner can get there in the next game. That would be awesome to see. And what might be even more impressive than the point streak, he has recorded a point in 23 of 24 games this season. This dude has been ridiculous. And it's always Austin Matthews who gets the credit. He won the Hart Trophy last year. He's the best goal scorer in the NHL as far as I'm concerned, even though his numbers are down a little bit this season. Marner just never seems to get the same respect as Matthews, despite outproducing Matthews in points. I don't know how many years he's done it, but he's done it at least 3 or 4 times where he's been the Leafs' leading scorer. And now to see what he's doing this season, it's incredible, man. Like we're witnessing greatness right now with Mitch Marner. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but to record a point in 23 of 24 games this season is just absurd.
He's on fire. He looks good offensively. He looks good defensively. Mitch Marner, I don't know if there's ever been a player during my time with the Toronto Maple Leafs who you can just tell by his body language how he's playing and how things are going for him. And you can, I mean, that's a bad thing. Like, let's say what it is. But like, you could tell early in the year that he wasn't shooting as much. His confidence wasn't there. He looked kind of mopey. And now you're watching him, and he's like a puppy having a blast in the park. He's just doing whatever he wants. He looks great. I say on this show, not enough attention is given to him being a back-to-back first-team All-Star. I mentioned to my buddy the other day, I've been meaning to look up how many players and who were they have been back-to-back first-team All-Stars in the National Hockey League. I'm pretty sure they're all. I bet they're all Hall of Famers. Like any guy who is able to pull that off. And now with the way he's playing, who knows? Maybe he'll get a third year in a row. He's scoring on a crazy pace. It looks like he's going to break this record. I guess if he does get to 18 and 19 games, the next one to look out for is Gretzky's record of 51 in a row. LOL. And then that would be something for Leafs fans to get excited about, right? But no, he's been great. He's been great. And as far as the credit goes, it's just hilarious. It's hilarious. Like I hear stuff all the time about how great certain players are. And again, like Marner gets pumped. Everyone knows Marner's a great player, but I think a lot of people still kind of put him in that B group of star players in the National Hockey League. It's like, no, this guy is a slam dunk A group player in this league. And I think of two things. I think of number one, if a team Canada was being made, it's like, no, it's not even a thought. Mitch Marner's on the team. And I mean, that says a lot. And the second thing is, you mentioned always like the comparisons to Matthews, which are true and which can happen when you're playing with another great player. And in a city like Toronto, things are going to be different. But on how many teams would Mitch Marner be the most explosive offensive player? Probably almost all of them, at least more than half, right? So I'm not going to full blown say like Marner doesn't get the credit he deserves, but I will say that among Leafs fans, he's really and truly underappreciated. And like I've made the point on the show when it comes to Marner, the thing I fear is he kind of falls in that realm of you're not going to realize how good something is until it's gone. And that's not me saying, okay, he's going to be traded or leaving free agency, but even say he has a lifelong career with the Leafs and he retires. I think sometimes we don't realize how good things are when they're happening, like historically good they are. I think that's what's going to happen to Marner. Like when people, I always come back with when people are like, oh, Marner has to get traded. I'm like, you realize he's literally like top 5 players in the history of the organization, an organization that's been around for 100 years. I think you're just going to trade him. So I see that happening with Mitch, but as far as his play goes, again, there's nothing to be bothered about. His confidence is sky high. He's playing with a smile on his face. And I think that's what Leafs fans are really happy about because, again, he is an emotional guy. And some people have made the point that he's not suited to play in Toronto because the pressure gets to him, and him being a Toronto boy, he feels the weight on his shoulders and he just can't handle it. But right now, anyway, he looks amazing. He looks great.
Matthews and Marner are both in year 7 in the NHL. So they both played 6 seasons. Marner's led the team in scoring 3 times, and Matthews has led the team in scoring 3 times. I'm talking about total points here.
Okay.
So, you know, it just goes back to the fact that people just sometimes don't really put it in perspective just how good this guy's been. Like, he's led the team in scoring 3 out of the 6 seasons that him and Matthews have been in the league together. It's just so impressive. As you mentioned, Lepore, back-to-back first-team All-Stars. There's not many guys who can do that. There's a lot of really good players, a lot of star players in the league that have not done that.
Yeah.
So Marner, man, shout out to him. He's been incredible. Lepore, is this crazy? Is there a chance that Mitch Marner can win the Hart Trophy this season as league MVP? And it sounds a little bit crazy. And I think the sports books are telling us that we're a little bit crazy for bringing this up, because I'm looking at the odds right now.
Yeah.
Connor McDavid is the favorite, as he should be. The guy's leading the league in scoring. He's the best player in the world. Yep. He's plus 110. Austin Matthews is second at plus 750. And Nathan McKinnon is third at plus 1,200, 12-1. Lepore, there are 15 players ahead of Mitch Marner right now on the betting board for the Hart Trophy. Mitch Marner, at this very moment that we are recording, Lepore, is 40-1 to win the Hart Trophy.
Wow.
Now, obviously, it's going to be very difficult for him to win the Hart Trophy with 40-1 odds. Like the books are telling us, it's not a great bet, but he has points in 23 of 24 games this season. This is a guy that can put up 100 to 110 points. Is there an avenue that Mitch Marner can actually pull this off and win the Hart Trophy this season?
It's all as the books are saying. It's a long shot, a very long shot. But then it's funny because we just finished saying he's a back-to-back first-team All-Star. So why is that a hot take, really, when you think of it that way? But when you were going over the odds, I couldn't help but think, I mean, if someone gave me $100 and said, okay, you can put your money in 2 places with regard to the Hart Trophy, I'd put $100 on McDavid, and then I'd put $100 at a long shot like Marner at 40-1. And like going back to last year, it's a perfect example. To win the Hart Trophy, again, the misinterpretation is always that the best player in the league wins the league MVP. And it's not. It's the guy who has the best season. Last year, this is a Leafs podcast, everybody. Connor McDavid is better at hockey than Austin Matthews is. I'm okay saying that, and I can say that confidently. But Matthews had a historical goal-scoring season. So he was going to get it. People are going to remember the 60 goals. So he was going to get the Hart Trophy. So I think with Marner, for him to get really and truly in the conversation, I mean, of course, he's got to be like super high in the scoring, if not be the leading scorer. And he's like 10 or 11 points behind McDavid. So good luck catching Connor McDavid in that scope. But the point streak, like if the point streak got crazy, where we're at like 25, 30, whatever games, that could be something that people could look back and be like, yeah, that deserves a league MVP. But again, like now we're really reaching, and you can say that about a lot of guys. Like what I mean by that is like, what ifs? Well, what if so-and-so scores as many goals, or so-and-so has a scoring streak, or what if Carlson puts up 100 points, or what if this goalie puts up a 930 save percentage? So I don't see it happening, but like I said, that's where my money would go. Like I'll ask you this: you're given $100. Would you put it on Matthews at 7-1 or Marner at 40-1?
I'd put it on Marner at 40-1. The way that they're playing right now, I just think it makes a lot more sense. Now, obviously, the sports books are telling us that Matthews has a way better chance to win the Hart Trophy. The guy just won it last year. He was the runner-up the year before that. But the way they're playing right now, I think Marner is totally mispriced at 40-1.
Okay.
And I think this is what it's going to take. So first of all, obviously he's competing against his teammate to win the MVP. So if Matthews scores 50, catches fire, puts up another 100-point season, and the Leafs are like a top 3 team in the league, Matthews is going to have another good chance to win the Hart Trophy. But here's what it's going to take for Marner. He's going to need Matthews to stay under 50 goals. He's going to have to lead the Leafs in scoring for the 4th time.
Yeah.
And then he's going to need McDavid not to go wild and lead the league in scoring by 25 points. And then he's probably also going to need the Leafs to win the President's Trophy, which is very much still in play. So he just needs a lot of things to go right. And then, as you said, Lepore, if that point streak gets out of control and we're talking about 25, 27 games, now we're talking, because if we're talking about breaking history, setting records, that's what Matthews did last season. I know 60 goals isn't a record or anything, but it's something that only 3 guys in the last, what has it been, 15, 20 years have actually accomplished, right? So it's going to take all of the stars to align for Marner to pull something off like this. But I think it's certainly in the realm of possibility. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not. But if you have a few bucks sitting around and you want to, throw a couple darts, I think Marner at 40-1 to win a Hart Trophy isn't too bad at all. There's a lot worse ways, honestly, to spend your money when it comes to betting on sports.
I'll throw this one at you. If you had to bet for his career, for his entire career, will Mitch Marner win a Hart Trophy and or an Art Ross Trophy?
You know what? I'm going to say that's a tough question. I'm going to say he wins one.
Really? Ooh.
And here's the thing. If he does, I think he's like, he can win the Art Ross every year, Mitch Marner. Like, I think he's he
can contend for it, you mean?
Yeah. He's one of the top point producers in the league, not going back to his rookie season, but over the last 3 or 4 years. And we were talking about this before we came on, Lepore. Over the last calendar year, well, I should say since January 1st of this year, Mitch Marner's the 3rd leading scorer in the NHL. McDavid's number 1, Tkachuk is number 2.
Crazy.
And Marner's number 3. And even if you want to look at points per game over the last 3 to 4 years, total points over the last 3 to 4 years, like, Marner's one of the leading scorers. And I think if he does win the Art Ross one year, that's probably going to come with a Hart Trophy as well.
Yeah.
That's kind of my mentality about that. So if you're setting the over-under at 0.5 Hart/Art Ross trophies for Mitch Marner in his career, I'll take the over. I don't feel amazing about it, but I'll take the over on it.
I like it. I think if I'm being honest with myself, I think I would bet against it. Not that I don't think he's capable, but I just think it's just hard with guys like you have McDavid. McDavid exists. And even too, I guess McDavid, who knows? Like, I remember thinking when McDavid came in the league, so Gretzky's won the most Hart trophies with 9, and he's won the Art Ross 10 times. I remember thinking when McDavid came into the league, man, he could pass that. Like, he looked so good early, and he was still a kid, and who knows what he'll end up being. And he still very well could. But then you kind of realize, kind of like to my point before, where, okay, Matthews can have an incredible year. There can be a defenseman who has an incredible year, a goalie. Now in comes Connor Bedard next year. So I'm sure within 5 years, like he'll be in contention for them. So I think it's hard to do. So like I would bet no. If there's one, I would say the Art Ross, because he could have a year where he just goes bananas points wise. And I'm sure, like, again, people are flaring their arms up thinking we're crazy, but like you made the point. In the last 12 months, like that's not a small sample size. That's a legitimate sample size. In the last 12 months, 3rd in scoring, he's 3 or 4 points behind McDavid. So he's capable. It's just, I'd probably give it to that one. I'd still bet against it, but if it was one, I would say it's the Art Ross.
And one other stat, Lepore, since the start of the 2020-21 season, so this is going back 2 years ago. So this is over the last 2 years and the first quarter of this season. The 4 leading scorers in the NHL, Connor McDavid number 1 by 40 points.
That's all.
Over Leon Draisaitl.
That's all.
So Draisaitl's number 2, Matthews is number 3, and Marner's number 4. So those are your top 4 leading scorers in the NHL over the last 150 plus games.
Yeah.
So
is what it is. These are numbers, everyone. I mean, it's
numbers
really
don't lie.
So $100 on Mitch Marner for the Hart, Bruno.
Yeah,
What do you say? We'll go 50 each.
We're both putting $100 on Mitch Marner to win the Hart Trophy this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we could very well be lighting our money on fire, but that would be great.
Yeah,
I already have money on the Leafs to win the President's Trophy.
Do you really?
I do. I bet on the Leafs to win the President's Trophy before the season.
Like 6-1 or something?
I think it was like 8-1.
Sure. Okay.
That I got them at, and they're right around the same number now. I saw them at like plus 750.
Okay.
It doesn't look great considering how hot the Devils and Bruins are.
Yeah.
I expect both of them to slow down. Like they're both playing at just an absolutely absurd pace.
Yeah, they're not going to put up like 140 points, everyone.
Exactly. But right now, the Leafs have the 5th best record in the NHL. So I think my bet is alive and well, honestly.
Yeah, not bad. I'm sure you were nervous a few weeks ago.
Oh, yeah. A few weeks ago, I was like, well, I lit my money on fire. But yeah, the boys have got my back, Lepore. So
yeah, that's the motivation.
Why not?
That's the motivation. That's the motivation in the locker room for the Leafs right now.
Yeah. They want to win my President's Trophy back.
Yeah, exactly.